So in this tutorial, we're going to go over the basics of Google Earth, adding a folder in My Places, and adding place marks within that folder, and looking at the layers and looking at some of the navigation tools over here. So if you don't have your navigation tools, you want to check on View over here and say Show Navigation. Notice I have it checked to automatically. And what that means is that when my mouse isn't over there, it just shows an outline of them when they appear when my mouse is over them. So, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and switch that to always, so it's there. Now, speaking of these, you can click and drag. This is your view, your perspective tool, wheel. You can click over here and turn it left and right. The tilt, you're looking up, you're looking down. And the bottom one is your pan. And just moving around, left, right, up and down. And then this is your zoom. Zoom in, zoom out. Get the USA straight here. Also on the zoom over here, I like a mouse that has a wheel on it, so you can zoom in with a wheel, zoom out with a wheel. Over here on Placemarks, if you have other stuff in your Google Earth, you can check it and uncheck it. Some of the kids have sometimes multiple things open, like a timeline, and then when they go in, all this stuff shows up. So you'll notice there's a place mark there already, and we're going to be making place marks, so I want to uncheck those things. Down here on the layers, you want to make sure you have 3D buildings checked. I always check 3D buildings. That's the power of Google Earth. And you want to make sure you can have a lot of stuff checked, especially on the gallery and global awareness and stuff, where there'll just be a whole bunch of stuff appearing on your Google Earth. I'd uncheck a lot of them, the ones that you're not using. For this project, we're using Google 3D buildings, which is great. So now let's make a folder for we're going to create a multimedia report within Google Earth. So we need a folder for place marks. So let's click My Places, then right click it and say Add a folder. I'm going to call it Peak Lit Trip, Literature Trip. I'm going to put my name, Eric Jarvis. Have the kids put their name on it. Now we can add stuff to the cover of that in here. We can add an image. We'll do that later, add links. You can do views on it and stuff. I'm going to click OK at the bottom. And now I have a folder. I can move that folder up. Okay, you might kind of get in trouble with that if something gets maximized. I moved it actually into another folder, so that can be troublesome for kids. A little tricky getting the hang of that, but here's my folder and I'm showing it. Okay, so now what I want to do, the first place in the particular book, Peak, and there's a ton of books that you could do this with. So we're doing Peak here, so Peak, and the first place he's at is the Woolworth building. He's scaling it, and he's going to draw. He's going to spray paint over it. So for the kids, what does that mean? He's spray painting on the Woolworth. He's climbing the Woolworth building, and he's spray painting on it. They think of the Woolworth building maybe as we have a Rite Aid building. They don't get the significance of him climbing it and scaling to the top. How high that is, they see the number of feet it is, but they don't really get it. And the idea of spray painting it. So what I do is when we're reading about it, I have them do research on it and do research the Woolworth building. You saw in the previous one, they wrote about it. It's a historical building, very prideful of the city, so he's spray painting on it. So what we want to do now, I'm going to go ahead and close that search result out, is create a place mark within this folder on Peak. And then that's where, on that place mark, we're also going to write about the Woolworth building. But let's the first starting thing you need to do is get a good view of the Woolworth building. Now the Woolworth building is right here. So I like to get like in a little open space, and the kids decide, there's not much open space. It's kind of hard to find some open space here. So as I zoom in, and then I can kind of tilt my head up to look at the buildings. I can click and turn my head this way. Maybe now I can move backwards a little bit or zoom out. I zoomed out way too much, so let's go back in here. Here we are, and let's tilt that, look up. So the kids actually, at first, they take a tough time getting the hang of this. That's the Woolworth building. Over here is the One World Trade Center. So I might back up a little bit here. Can I back up just a bit? Get a little more of it. Whoops. Okay, so you could spend probably way too much time on this. So let me tilt a little more. Let's go ahead and move to the left, out of the way. Okay. All right. So basically, that's for the purpose of this tutorial. That's pretty good. So now what I want to do inside this, I want to put a place mark. This is the Woolworth building. When someone clicks on that, or they click on it again, that's what they're going to see when they see the Woolworth building with the One World Trade Center in the background. I usually like to get that a little better. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a place mark. And I call it the Woolworth building. And click, I can write about it out here. Click OK. Now I have a place mark inside there. So that's basically what we have. So next, if I just go, USA. And I could keep adding those place marks. And then when we go in, when they click Woolworth building, the Google Earth zooms in to that particular view. And that should pop up, but maybe I don't have anything written on it, so it's not popping up. So the next step is to write about it. So how do I change this? How do I edit it? So I right-click the Woolworth building place mark, and I select on the bottom, properties. It's a little off my screenshot here. So on the very bottom, I don't think you can see it, unfortunately, properties. I'm going to select, let's make it so you can see it. Right-click the Woolworth building, properties. And then it's here where the kids write about the building. So they research the Woolworth building, they take notes on it, and then in groups they have a copy editor. I'll go over the jobs later, and they write about it. So they can also add HTML coding to this, and let me kind of show you where that is. So if you go here and you can say HTML tags, and this is the Google, the Rockstar Teacher Camp, Google Earth tags here. And if you look at these, you can up the font size equals +4, like that, or even just kind of copy it. So in class we go over these. Okay, and then so I'm just going to copy and paste. So that'll be kind of large, and I could say another code. I can say I can colorize this. I can say font size equals blue. And in quotations, blue. And then close that tag. So requires we'll do a little more on the tags, and then when I click OK, now when I click on this, it made an error. So right click, properties. Actually, I have something there. It messes everything up. So, and there we have it. This is the Woolworth building. I'll figure out why that's not blue in a minute. So that's kind of the basic of adding a tag. And I'll show you in the next video, we'll show you how to add, customize this place mark so it's not just the yellow. It's actually the book.